The room was small, and the silence was heavy. Desh sat on the edge of his worn-out mattress, staring at the single, crisp 100-rupee note in his hand. It was the last of his money, a final reminder of his joblessness and the emptiness in his pockets. The city outside buzzed with life, but inside Desh's world, everything had come to a standstill. He felt a deep sadness, a weight that seemed to crush his spirit. He had tried so hard, knocked on so many doors, and faced countless rejections. Now this small piece of paper was all that stood between him and complete despair. It felt unfair, like the world had turned its back on him. He held the note up to the dim light filtering through the window, his fingers tracing the familiar face of Mahatma Gandhi. "What good are you?" he whispered, his voice thick with frustration and helplessness. "You are just 100 rupees. You will be gone tomorrow. I will buy a meal. And then what? You cannot change my life. You are just a piece of paper that promises a little food for a day, but you cannot promise me a future." He felt a surge of anger. This note represented all his failures, all the opportunities he had missed, and the hopelessness that now consumed him. It was a symbol of his poverty. Desh continued his one-sided conversation, pouring out all his sorrows to the inanimate object. "People say money is everything. But you're so little. You're not enough to bring me respect or happiness. You are not enough to start a business or even pay the rent for next month. You will leave my hand as quickly as all the others before you." He sighed, a long, tired breath that carried the weight of his worries. He felt trapped in a cycle of poverty, from which there seemed to be no escape. Every path he looked at seemed to be a dead end, and every dream he had ever had felt like a distant, impossible star. He almost tore the note in his anger, but a sudden thought stopped him. He looked at it again, not with anger this time, but with a strange sense of connection. This note was his last companion in his struggle. It had been with him for a few days, a silent witness to his hunger and his tears. "What should I do with you?" he asked softly, the anger replaced by a quiet desperation. "Should I spend you on a fancy meal and forget my troubles for one evening? Or should I buy a simple meal and make you last a little longer?" The question hung in the air, a simple choice that felt like the most important decision of his life. As Desh stared at the note, lost in his thoughts, a strange thing happened. It felt as if a gentle voice, calm and wise, was speaking directly to his heart. "You are looking at me the wrong way, Desh," the voice seemed to say. "You see me as something to be spent, something that disappears. But I am not just for spending. I am a seed. You can either eat the seed and satisfy your hunger for a day, or you can plant it and have food for a lifetime." The idea was so simple, yet so profound. Desh had never thought of money in this way before. He had always seen it as something to use, not as something to grow. The imaginary voice of the note continued, its wisdom flowing into Desh's troubled mind. "You think you must work for me. That is true for most people. They trade their time and energy for money, but the truly wise make money work for them. They do not just spend me, they invest me. They use me to create more of me. You are angry because you think I am too small to make a difference. But even the largest banyan tree starts as a tiny seed. Your mindset is your biggest problem, not the amount of money in your hand." Desh listened, captivated. It was as if a light had been switched on in a dark room. The voice was gentle but firm. "Do not just give me away for temporary comfort. Use me to create value. Find something that people need or something that brings them joy. Use me to buy that thing and then offer it to others. When you do that, I will not leave you. Instead, I will return to you, and I will bring my friends with me. This is the secret that the rich know and the poor often forget. Money is a tool, an employee. You are its boss, not its slave. You must tell me what to do, not the other way around." Desh felt a shift inside him, a small spark of hope igniting in his heart. He looked at the 100-rupee note with new eyes. It was no longer just a piece of paper representing his poverty. It was a key, a possibility, a seed of opportunity. The feeling of helplessness began to fade, replaced by a sense of purpose. he was not powerless. He had a choice. He could remain a victim of his circumstances, or he could become the master of his own destiny, starting with this a single 100 rupee note. The note had taught him a lesson more valuable than any job could have. It is not about how much money you have, but what you do with it. With a newfound determination, Desh left his small room and walked towards the bustling market. The words of the 100 rupee note echoed in his mind, "Find something that brings people joy." He looked around, observing everything carefully. He saw vendors selling food, clothes, and household items, but then his eyes landed on a shop selling colorful balloons. He saw the happy faces of children as they pointed at the bright, floating orbs. He saw the smiles on the parents' faces as they bought one for their child. In that moment, he knew what he had to do. Balloons were not just toys, they were small packets of happiness. He walked into the shop and used his precious 100 rupee note to buy a large bunch of balloons in all shapes and colors. He also bought a small, handheld air pump. He had a little money left over, which he saved carefully in his pocket. Carrying the uninflated balloons, he walked to a nearby park where many families gathered in the evening. His heart was pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. This was his first step as a businessman. He was no longer just a jobless man. He was an entrepreneur, even if his entire business fit into one small bag. He found a good spot near the entrance of the park and started inflating the balloons. The bright red, blue, yellow, and green shapes quickly caught the attention of the children playing nearby. A little girl tugged at her father's shirt, pointing at Desh's colorful collection. Soon he was surrounded by curious children and their parents. He smiled at them, his nervousness slowly melting away. He sold his first balloon for 10 rupees. It was a small amount, but to Desh, it felt like a fortune. He had not just earned money, he had created it from his initial investment. That evening, Desh sold all his balloons. He walked home, his body tired, but his spirit soaring higher than any of his balloons had. He counted his earnings carefully. After putting aside the initial 100 rupees he had invested, he found he had made a profit. It was not a huge amount, but it was his. He had not just worked for money, he had made his money work for him. That night, he did not feel sad or hopeless. He felt powerful. He had planted his seed, and he had seen the first sprout emerge from the ground. The journey from broke to boss had officially begun. Desh did not spend his profit carelessly. He understood that this was just the beginning. The next day he took his initial 100 rupees and a part of his profit to buy even more balloons. He also bought some ribbons to make them look prettier. He returned to the same park, but this time he was more confident. He greeted his little customers with a warm smile and even learned how to twist some balloons into simple animal shapes. The children loved it. His reputation as the balloon man who brought smiles grew day by day. His sales increased, and so did his profits. He was very disciplined with his earnings. Every day he would divide his money into 3 parts. The first part was his initial investment, the capital he needed to buy new balloons. The second part was for his simple daily needs, food and a small amount for rent. The third and most important part was his savings. He put this money aside in a small box. He watched this box fill up, coin by coin, note by note. It was a visual representation of his hard work and wise decisions. This growing fund was not just money, it was his hope for a bigger and better future. As his savings grew, Desh started thinking bigger. He didn't just want to sell balloons in the park forever. He started learning about other things he could do. He used a small part of his savings to buy some simple magic tricks to entertain the children. This made his little balloon stall even more popular. People started inviting him to birthday parties to entertain the kids with his balloons and magic. He was no longer just selling a product, he was selling an experience. He was selling happiness, and his business flourished because of it. He was reinvesting his profits wisely to expand his offerings. Soon, the small box was not enough for his savings. He opened a bank account, a moment of immense pride for him. He saw his savings grow from hundreds to thousands. He learned about investing and put some of his money into a safe, long-term plan. The 100 rupee note had taught him how to make money work for him, and Desh was becoming an expert at it. He was not just earning a living anymore, he was building wealth. His life had transformed completely, all because he chose to plant the seed instead of just eating it. He was living proof that small, wise steps can lead to giant leaps. With his success, Desh's life changed in many ways. He moved out of his small, dark room into a comfortable apartment. He could afford good food and nice clothes, but the most significant change was not on the outside, it was within him. He found a deep sense of happiness and fulfillment that he had never known before. This happiness did not come from the money in his bank account, but from the journey he had undertaken. It came from knowing that he had built his success with his own hands, through hard work, smart choices, and a positive attitude. Desh never forgot where he came from. He remembered the feeling of hopelessness and despair. He saw other young people in the city who were in the same situation he had been in. He decided to help them. He started a small program where he would give a few bright, unemployed youths a small amount of money, just like the 100 rupees he had started with. But he did not just give them money, he gave them his time and his knowledge. He taught them the lesson the 100 rupee note had taught him, how to make money work for them. He became a mentor, a source of hope for others. He showed them how to start small, how to manage their earnings, and how to grow their businesses. He helped one person start a small tea stall, another to set up a mobile repair service. He did not ask for the money back. Instead, he asked them to help someone else. When they became successful, he was creating a chain of kindness and empowerment. He understood that true wealth was not about how much you have, but how much you give. Helping others and seeing them succeed brought him a joy that no amount of personal wealth ever could. He became a respected figure in his community. Desh's story became an inspiration for many. He proved that it is not luck or fate that determines our future, but our own choices and our mindset. His journey from a broken, sad young man to a successful and happy entrepreneur was a powerful lesson for everyone. The final message is clear and simple. Money does not grow on trees, but it can grow with wisdom. Every rupee in your hand is a seed of opportunity. It is up to you to decide whether to consume it for a moment of comfort or plant it for a lifetime of growth. Change your mindset, use your opportunities wisely, and you too can write your own story of success.